meeting of the Education, K-12 Education, E-12 Education Conference Committee on House File 1065. We'll start with taking of the rolls of the two bodies. Ms. Sunderland, would you call the roll of the House, please?
Chair Davnie.
Present.
Chair Richardson.
Present.
Representative Hassan.
Present.
Representative Krisha.
Present.
Representative Pryor. Representative Pryor. And that is the roll for the House.
Thank you, Ms. Sunderland. Ms. Donovan, would you do the same for the Senate, please?
Senator Chamberlain,
Present.
Senator Dornick,
Present.
Senator Duckworth,
Here.
Senator Eichhorn,
Eichhorn present.
Senator Uyghur.
Here.
That completes the roll of the Senate.
Thank you, Ms. Donovan. Mr. Chair, we appreciated the offer that you provided and your team provided yesterday and have responded in kind. I want to provide a couple of opening comments, help you understand a little bit of how we're thinking about it. And then a number of the provisions are technical. Some of them are more substantive. Some of them show our agreement with the Senate language. Some compromise there and some working on language. So I will ask staff, nonpartisan staff, to do the real walkthrough of the presentation. But Mr. Chair, we saw the work that your team did and wanted to make sure that we responded substantively. So if you look at the first of our different packages, different ways of grouping these proposals, we really came at this, as both parties have described, with an emphasis on students. So if you look, we included your balanced reading change because literacy is so important to all of us, but recognize that we have to have an equity approach to that, and that some of the most challenged students in our state are our American Indian students, and that we need to do some things around the academics, but other aspects of their experience in schools and their then achievement in schools. So there's a number of items there for American Indian students. We also recognize that instruction and that learning occurs within a school context, within cultures and climates of schools. So a couple of provisions there: the safe and supportive schools, language, the ban on corporal punishment, as we've discussed, the mental health best practices, wanting to make sure that we have, as I said, climates and cultures that allow and facilitate and support learning. A couple of technical provisions in there as well that staff will review. Our second grouping of proposals, Mr. Chair, are policy issues around finance. One is your revenue redirection. I think there might be a technical issue there, Mr. Chair, about which year that applies to. We can get into that when staff reviews it or after, whichever is your preference. And then our provision allowing school districts to continue voter approved levies at the same level, because we really see that stable education funding is important, and that the ability of schools to be able to predict and project what their funding will be will allow them to be more innovative, which is certainly what we need them to be at this time. And then the last section of proposals, two again, is the short call substitute pilot, and we've got some proposed language to put a little bit more rigor around that. We heard you folks loud and clear, I think that was on Tuesday, about the importance of that pilot language to you. But then also pairing that up with the full and equitable participation in early learning, the K through 3 provision, and some new language around that. So keeping students at the center of what we're doing, recognizing that they learn and grow inside a school community, and the climate and culture of that community is important, and that stable funding is then an important part of this educational experience that school administrators and leaders are able to develop. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll hand it over to Ms. Para from House Nonpartisan staff to do the more
Mr.
technical
Chair,
stuff.
I
Oh.
appreciate that. I'm going to save
Yes,
us
sir.
a whole bunch of, I'm going to save us a
Oh.
whole bunch of time here,
Okay.
right? Is that there are certainly things in your offer that coincide with what we had yesterday, but, and I appreciate some of the ideas, obviously, but your offer has grown substantially and fairly ignored what we did yesterday. I was hoping we would approach the yesterday's offer and deal with it directly, but we really haven't done that with your offer. The offer is grown. Yesterday's offer was extremely reasonable, supported by many people with almost no opposition. So my suggestion is we address yesterday's offer we gave to you, take those issues and put them in if you want, but I'm not going to accept any of these provisions that you offered us today. They go far beyond what we have asked. They extend into the territories and areas that are not going to be helpful for the child. The American Indian students, there are certainly valid issues there, but there are certainly controversial issues about who shall get that student's data. That is just not where we're going to go. And we're certainly not going to pair up the levy renewal with a revenue redirection. That's only for 1 year. So unless we want to discuss yesterday's offer and address that with pieces that you want in there as is, I'm not going to accept any of these provisions that you've put out today and shown us. The teacher pilot, for example, with the substitute short call, you're putting the control back in the hands of the faculty. That's not the point of this. You got to give the schools the opportunity to do something, and that was the whole point of short call subs that are licensed, that are teachers in tier 1, and a 1-year pilot. But you're just taking it and putting it back in the hands of Pelby, which negates the original intent of the offer. The full and equitable participation in early learning, it's, again, it was a reasonable, supportable position. And by putting you, we appreciate that you reduce some of the burdens, but it still doesn't help out the districts. And our provision democratizes it, almost, it balances, has checks and balances with the parents and the community. So I will leave it at that. I'm not going to accept any of these provisions. We don't need to discuss them. We understand them. And if you wish to discuss yesterday's offer that we made and go through that list and see what we can do and maybe bring something in, I'm willing to do that, but I'm not willing to entertain this expanded piece that's gone all over the place, especially into controversial issues with student data. So I don't mean to be harsh, but I mean to be direct and honest that this is not, your offer will not move with us today.
Well, Mr. Chair, I do appreciate the directness and honesty. I am disappointed. We saw your offer yesterday was significantly larger and more complex than previous offers, excuse me. And so thought that that was an indication that the Senate was in a place to let's get some work done. We thought that we would, that the best way to have the conversations about controversial elements, if they're deemed controversial by some, is to get them on the table and start that conversation. The walkthrough is interesting. The actual engaging in the to and fro and the sharing perspectives is where the work gets done, and we wanted to get some work done. We see that Monday is coming, and frankly, I don't like our going into special session yet again. I was hoping that our leadership would be able to find that common ground spot. So far, they haven't, but I was hoping that we would be able to do that today. And so this is our offer for today. This is what we want to see the conversation circle around. As you indicated, the American Indian provisions are important to us. We don't think that schools should be using Native American imagery as mascots, because we don't think that American Indian students deserve that insult. We think their parents are important, and they're recognize and respect the sovereignty of their bands, and that the Native nations here need to be a part of our all understanding the Native American student experience. I certainly could go on and explain each of our provisions, but I think I kind of did that in my quick overview. As I indicated, some of these are pretty technical things, and we certainly included a number of Senate provisions that we find acceptable and are willing to talk more about those if need be. But this is our offer for today, Mr. Chair.
Again, I certainly understand and accept a lot of the ideas regarding the Native American positions, and that's not the issue. The issue is we gave you an offer and you came back with a lot of other things that were much different and not balanced. We could certainly talk at some point as we move forward next week, I guess, about those issues of tobacco use and mascots and what you wear at graduation. That's all well and good. But stuff like balanced reading is a no-brainer, right? We could just, it's one word. It's a no-brainer to take it out, and it's a negotiating issue, and it should have just been accepted. We were willing to take remote testing previously, and some of the concurrent stuff, but you just, in the corporal punishment. But I feel that our offer was not respected in the way it should be. And I've been down this road before with these things coming back with, not you, Mr. Chair, coming back all over the board. And so in the interest of maintaining that sort of integrity and control and understanding and consistency, I'm not going to entertain this today. And I wish too, Mr. Chair, that we had targets. And yes, I think all of us would rather be on with our lives after May 17th. But as you noted, it's not been the case in the last many years. God willing, we'll get back to it one day, Mr. Chair. So I don't know, I won't keep babbling on. We can certainly talk offline, you and Chair Richardson and myself, about some of this stuff as well. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll shut up now, and thank you, members.
Mr. Chair, then I guess the last question is what plans do we make for tomorrow? The Senate has the gavel, of course, on Saturdays.
We have none. We have none.
All right.
Unless we have a conversation and we're willing to talk about our offer yesterday and how we might address some of these other pieces that you presented today, now that works in with our offer that we presented yesterday. And I do not anticipate meeting tomorrow. Only if we bring up yesterday's offer and discuss offline how those other pieces fit into this, then we can move forward. So
all right, well,
that will do that, Mr. Chair. Otherwise, no.
All right. With that, members and members of the public, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.